Okay, there are many ways to tune the instrument. Okay, obviously it's very important whether you're playing with a band or playing along with CDs or if you're practicing that your guitar is in tune. Okay, I actually use several different methods of tuning at once to ensure that I'm in tune. Okay, and I check it often. But we're going to talk about two very important ways to tune. The first way is to tune the guitar to itself, okay, and we're going to use what we call the fifth fret method for that. Okay, we're going to do that first, and then I'm going to show you how to tune with an electronic tuner. Okay, so we're going to talk about both of those right now. Let's go ahead and tune the guitar to itself first. Okay, quickly before we tune, I want to go over a little bit about how our music system works. Our system is based on what we call a 12-tone system. And that 12-tone system is made up of half steps. Okay? A half step on the guitar is one fret. So every time I go up one fret, say I'm on the low E string here, we're going to go over the string names here in a second too. Every time I go up a fret, I'm going up a half step. And there's 12 of these until we get to the next E, which we call an octave. Okay? On my guitar and on your guitar as well, I'm sure, you have two dots at the 12th fret. That marks one octave. That means we've gone through all 12 notes we have in music and we've arrived an octave higher at the original pitch in which we first started in. Okay, so we have low E, and then at the 12th fret we have another E. All right? Well, we give these letter names. I'm sure you've seen a piano. If you're familiar with a piano, we have white keys and black keys. The white keys are all the natural notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, okay? Or a C major scale. The black keys that are in between the white keys are the sharps, what we call sharps and flats, okay? Well, our guitar is tuned to very specific pitches using all the natural notes, okay? So, for example, my low E, this is my low E string here, the fattest string, this is string number 6, okay? It's the pitch E. The next string is our 5th string, okay? That's what we call the A string. And I want you to memorize these as quickly as you can. As with everything with our DVD, when appropriate, we have diagrams and tablature that you can look at, okay, to help you. There might even be some pop-ups popping up right now and I don't even know it. So the A string, 5th string. Our 4th string is our D string. Our 3rd string is our G string. Our 2nd string is the B string. And then finally, our 1st string, or string 1, is our high E string. Okay? So the way to remember the order is that the thinner the string, the lower the number. So string 1, high E, string 2, B string, string 3 is the G string, string 4 is the D string, string 5, A string, and string 6, low E string. Okay? Now I just tuned this up. I know it's in tune, but those are the specific pitches that we need to tune it to. Okay? Now, let me show you the first way of tuning, and this is tuning the guitar to itself. Okay? Let's assume that the low E string is all tuned up perfect, just where it needs to be. Okay? It is possible to tune all the other strings to match the low E string. Okay? Let me show you how that works. What we're going to do is I want you to place your first or second finger just behind the 5th fret. On most guitars, that's the 2nd dot, okay? Just behind that 5th fret of the low E string, okay? That's the one that we know is in tune. And I want you to go ahead and play that, okay? Now, when we're fretting a note, we're going to talk more in more detail here in a minute, but you don't want to be on top of the fret. Notice how that gets a very deadened sound? You want to be just behind it. Nice, clear sound, okay? I want you to keep your finger kind of arched up, okay, like this, if you can see this, arched up, and again we're going to talk in more detail here in a minute about finger positioning. So go ahead and play that note at the 5th fret of the low E string, and that is the note A, and that's what we want our A string the open A string, the 5th string, to sound like, okay? So those need to sound identical. So here's the low E string at the 5th fret. Here's the A string. Okay? Here they sound the same, or they're very, very close, okay? Now, once that's in tune, we do the same exact process by going to the A string and going to the 5th fret, playing that note, and now we're going to, and then we tune the D string, the 4th string open. They should match. Okay? Repeat the same process. Now we're going to go to the 5th fret of the D string, and we're going to tune up the G string. Again, I already know this is pretty much in tune, but they should sound the same, okay? Now here's the one exception. When we go to tune the 2nd string of the B string, we need to go down 1 fret, okay, to the 4th fret of the G string, okay? So we just tuned the G string. Now we want to go to the 4th fret of the G string to tune the B string, okay? That's the one exception. And then finally, to tune the high E string, we go back to the 5th fret of the B string to tune the high E string. Okay, so they should all sound the same. So, tune the A string again with the 5th fret of the low E. Repeat the process on the A string to tune the D. Repeat the process on the D string, 5th fret, to tune the G string. Okay, go down a fret on the G string to the 4th fret to tune the B string. And then finally, back to the 5th fret of the B string to tune the high E string. Okay, once you've done that, okay, your chord should sound pretty good. Okay, so slightly out of tune. I would use different methods to tune it up to match, you know, to get it a lot closer, but that's the first way of tuning, okay? Now, I just did this knowing everything was in tune. Let's go ahead and throw this out of tune, and we'll do a little ear training exercise. Okay, I just threw my guitar out of tune, but the low E string is still the same, okay? Now to prove it to you, here's the same chord. All right, so obviously we need to fix this. So go to the 5th fret of the low E string. Again, that one is pretty close to being in tune. Now hit the A string. Okay, you'll notice they sound different. Okay, you need to determine, since we're tuning the A string, if it's lower or higher in pitch than the low E string at the 5th fret. Okay, the A string is lower, isn't it? Okay. So what I'm going to do is get them both to ring together, and then I'm going to reach over and I'm going to use the tuning peg, and I'm going to tune up the A string. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's check that. Okay, not bad. Now when that one's in tune, now we're going to go to the 5th fret of the A string, okay, and we're going to do the same thing with the D string. The D string is going to be out now. Okay, so here's the A string, which is now correctly tuned. Here's the D string. Okay, notice that the D string is higher in pitch, so we need to lower that. So, we want them to sound identical. Okay, so here it is. Okay, that's pretty close. Same method. Go to the D string now. Going to tune the G string up. Okay, G string's out of tune. Match them up. Remember, we want them to sound the same. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so you remember where to go with the G string, right? To the 4th fret. Now we're going to tune the B string up. Okay, the B string is low now. You're going to find it's going to take a little bit of practice to train your ears. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, for the high E string, go back to the 5th fret of the B string. Okay, notice the high E string is now too high. We're going to lower that. Okay, you're going to listen to that one now. Now that's pretty good. So let's check them out. So we got the low E. pretty good. Now the D string's pretty good. G string's okay. Just want to touch it up a little bit. Now the B string. Check that one more time. And the high E string, back to the 5th fret. Okay, so now I'm going to check it with an E major chord to make sure everything's good. Okay, that's pretty close, okay? So I do a little bit more adjusting and everything, but that's pretty good. So that is how you tune the guitar to itself. Now let me show you how to tune with a tuner. Okay, I have my electronic tuner all set up here. Once again, I detuned my guitar. I highly recommend that because you're starting off that you have some type of an electronic tuner to use as a backup to tuning the guitar to itself, okay? It will make it a lot easier for you, okay? Now, let's start off with the low E string. Again, this is my 6th string. Okay. Notice that the light comes on and reads E for the E string, and that the dial, the white line there, that dial is to the left. Okay. And we also have an arrow pointing to the right. That means that we need to tune up. Okay. It's too low in pitch. So we need the dial to be right in the middle, and we need both lights to come on. Okay, they may blink on and off a little bit like that. That's totally cool, as long as they're on most of the time. And notice I don't hit my string too hard. Watch, if I hit my string too hard, watch what happens. Notice how it goes sharp. Okay, you want to hit it nice and soft and just let it ring. Let the string settle down and then you tune it, okay? It'll ring for quite a while. So that's pretty close. Now to the A string. Okay, now it's reading A, but it's showing that it's too high. We need to lower it. Okay, that's pretty good. Now the D string. Okay, this one's too low. So we need to go up. Good. Now moving to the G string or the 3rd string. That one's too low. Now to the B string. Okay, the B string's too high. Now I'm going to show you another little trick here. Often if the string is too high, what I like to do sometimes is I like to tune it to where it's below the pitch and then bring the pitch up like this. So it's too high, I make it intentionally too low, and then I bring it up. Okay? If the string has settled into the nut of the guitar up by the headstock, a lot of times by detuning it like that, it'll help it resettle into the proper tune by going lower and then high again. Okay? Now the high E string. Once again, that's too high, so I'm going to bring it down a little lower than it needs to be. Okay? Now I'm going to bring it up. A little tip that'll help you. Okay? Now we have them in tune. Let's go ahead and check it. So they may have settled a little bit. That's pretty good. This particular tuner I'm using here is very, very sensitive. Very, very, very accurate. Oop, that one's a little too high. B string. Good. High E string. And then I always check it with a chord. Okay, that's pretty close. I always check it with a chord because your ears, okay, are the best tuner in the world. That will really tell you how close you really are, okay? And again, the longer you play, as your musicianship skills develop, as your ears develop, you'll be able to hear these things more and more, okay? But a tuner definitely helps. Okay, let's go ahead, let's move on to a basic exercise. Okay, now that we've gone over some of the basic information, it's time to actually begin playing. Okay, this is a basic exercise that we're going to do first. Let me show you how to play it, and then we'll talk about it in more detail. And this is something that I want you to do for 5 to 10 minutes a day as part of your practice routine. Okay, here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's begin by talking about the left hand. Okay, our fingers are fingers 1, 2, 3, and 4. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the 9th fret of the D string. Okay, on most guitars that's your 4th dot, and I want you to place your first finger just behind that fret. Again, I don't want you to go right on top because you get a deadened sound that way. I want you to go just behind it. And you get a nice clear sound. Use just the tip of your finger, not the flat part, but the tip. And keep your fingers arched up. And let me show you where my thumb is. My thumb, you'll notice, is right about here on the instrument. Like I said, everyone's different. What you want to avoid is having your thumb way up top like that, or way underneath, or especially avoid having it like parallel with the neck like this. Okay? You want to have it like at a 90-degree angle in relation to the neck, and right about right here. You'll notice there's a little pocket here between the fretboard and this part of my hand. Okay, that allows me to reach up, okay, and grab the lower strings. Okay, again, we're referring to pitch when I mean lower strings, so not closest to the floor. Okay, so as guitarists, we got to think a little bit backwards. So our low string is actually towards the ceiling. All right, so thumb here allows me to stretch up. I have just the tips of my fingers, and I'm just behind the 9th fret. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is play that note on the D string, and then go up to the 10th fret with your 2nd finger, 11th fret, and then with your pinky hit the 12th fret, just like that. Lay them all down. Okay. Now, let's back up just a second and talk about the right hand. Okay. Now, notice I'm using a guitar pick. This is a Fender Heavy. You know, you can use whatever size pick you want. Just experiment, see what's comfortable for you. I hold a pick between my first finger and my thumb. Okay, actually I hold it several different ways depending on what I'm doing. But for most of my playing, I'll have it between my first finger and my thumb, and sometimes I'll touch up as well with my 2nd finger. Okay. Now, what I don't want you to do with the pick is I don't want you to hold it so we have too much of the pick sticking out, because you won't have any control, plus you'll drop your pick a lot. Okay, you're going to drop it enough anyway. All right. What I want you to do is to choke up on it so you have just a little bit sticking out, just enough to strike the string. All right. And then comfortably rest the palm of your hand, the heel of your hand right here, on top of the bridge, so that you're draped over like this. Okay? Like I said earlier, somewhere between this pickup and this pickup. Right here is good. Okay? And I actually rest the palm of my hand, not really the palm, but the side, the fleshy part of my hand, on the bridge this way. And that gives me an anchor point, so with time, you'll be able to feel where all the strings are. Okay? So now when I pluck a note, I'm just what we're doing right now, we're just going to do downstrokes. You saw me doing what's called alternate picking, where I go down, up, down, up. Okay, you can do that later when you're comfortable. Right now, just get used to doing a downstroke like this. Okay, and you're just going to hit one at a time, just like that. You may want to practice on just this one string. That's cool too. Okay. I want you to practice at a slow enough tempo that everything is nice and clear. Your tempo might be much slower than that. It might be something like this. That's fine. We're not going for speed. We're going for a nice clean tone. Okay? When you get good at that, then you can go to the next string. Again, just behind the 10th, 11th, 12th fret. And again, notice I have contact with the guitar with my right hand so I can see what strings I'm on, okay? So far, we have this. D string, 10th fret, 11, 12. G string, 10, 11, 12. Now to the B string, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the high E string, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? Now, when we get to that point, okay, I want you to slide everything down one fret, and we're going to go backwards. 11, 10, 9, 8, continue to the B string, 11, 10, 9, 8, to the G string, 10, 9, 8, to the D string, 11, 10, 9, 8. And now we're going to repeat by sliding up a fret again, okay? And we repeat the entire exercise. So nice and slow, we have this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So nice and slow, we have this. And I'm going to give you a one measure count off. Now what I mean by that is I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, then we start again, okay? We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on when we work on a song. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. High E string. Now we're going to slide down, go backwards to the B string, to the G string, to the D string. We repeat, okay? Now your tempo to get everything to ring out, and this might take a couple of weeks, okay? Your tempo might be like this. Okay, and also it might sound a little bit like this. Okay, but I want you to keep at it, keep trying. Little by little, you're training your fingers to do these things, okay? That's what I mean about the dexterity. We have to, before you get good with chords and everything, which we're going to work on, this is a great exercise to help train your muscles, your tendons. It helps train everything. It helps build a coordination between the left and right hands and teaches your fingers how to do these things. I've never done them before. It's going to take a while, okay? But it's absolutely doable, okay? So once again, I want you to practice this exercise every day for 5 to 10 minutes. Before you start working on your songs and your chords, okay? You can kind of treat it as a warm-up exercise. Now, when you get good with that, by going back and forth, then you can start working your way down the neck, because what happens is as you work your way down, the frets get wider, so it becomes a nice stretching exercise, okay? So you can do this. Now I'm going to continue down. Okay, and when you get comfortable with the, working on the D string, then I want you to expand the exercise even more until you're using the A string and the low E string, until finally you have this. All 6 strings. And so forth, okay? But for now, only downstrokes until you're comfortable. Then you can begin working on alternate picking, which is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and so forth, okay? So there's the exercise. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few really important open chords.